Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. More often than not, a good fight is determined by the two guys' styles and how they gel together and how they almost complement each other, even though they're trying to beat the hell out of each other. Their styles are creating entertainment because they mesh together very well. And there's a fight on the undercard of Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia, which I think could be entertaining, could be, I don't know about a show stealer, because I think we're going to see a pretty good fight between Canelo and Munguia. But the fight I'm thinking of is Brandon Figueroa against Jessie Magdaleno. Now, neither of these guys, I would say, is touching that elite level. They're both solid guys, good, solid guys. And Magdaleno, he's got 29 wins, 18 KOs, 2 defeats. His last fight was actually a defeat. That was to Raymond Ford. And Ray Ford, of course, went on to win a world title very recently. He stopped Otabek Kolmatov with only 7 seconds left, previously undefeated Kolmatov, as is Ford. So that defeat, although it was a unanimous decision and it was a wide decision loss, it's sort of improved a little bit because Ray Ford has shown that, he really is made of tough stuff. But nevertheless, it did sort of define where Magdaleno is. He's a sort of B-level fighter, decent, good at everything, doesn't really do anything badly, but isn't quite, world championship elite level. Not that impressive, but at the same time, not unimpressive. Okay. And to a lesser extent, I would say the same about Brandon Figueroa. Not quite. I mean, I think Figueroa probably has more natural talent than Magdaleno, whereas Magdaleno is a southpaw and about 5'4", short maybe. Figueroa, I think, is tall for the weight. He's 5'9", and he's an orthodox fighter. So sometimes the opposites attract. And Figueroa, again, I mean, he comes in with a 24 wins, 18 KOs record, 1 defeat, which was on points to Stephen Fulton. That was a majority decision. Not too bad a result. I thought Fulton won it, but he gave him a tough fight. He won rounds, put it that way, against Fulton. And Fulton, I thought, was, even though he got smashed to bits by Inoue, at the time he was undefeated, and I was quite impressed with him. I thought he was a very good technician, and he controlled Figueroa. And Figueroa himself has some good skills. But since then, that's his only defeat. He's got a draw, I think, earlier on in his career against Julio Ceja. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. But since then, I think with regards to Magdaleno and Figueroa, they've both been quite inactive. Figueroa, I think, has been out of the ring for something like 14 months, 13, 14 months, over a year anyway. And Magdaleno has been out of the ring for a year. So both suffering from a little bit of inactivity. Figueroa, despite the Fulton loss, has scored a couple of victories since then. The Fulton loss was in 2021, the back end of 2021. And the 2 victories were over Carlos Castro, who he stopped in 6 rounds, floored him. And then his last fight, the one that was about 13, 14 months ago, was Mark Magsayo, and that was a unanimous decision. And he picked up the WBC interim featherweight title. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think anything of these interim belts. I think they're a load of rubbish. But there's no doubt that Figueroa has proved himself in the past to be, whereas I would say Magdaleno is a sort of B-level fighter, I would probably describe Figueroa as being a little bit better, maybe a B-plus fighter. He did hold the WBA super bantamweight title before moving up. And I think, oh yes, of course, because in fact, he won the WBC belt as well because he fought Luis Nery. Now, Luis Nery is fighting Inoue, and when Figueroa fought Nery was undefeated and was strongly favoured over Figueroa. They were both undefeated coming in. It was a nip and tuck fight, it was quite a grinding fight, actually. Very entertaining fight. I really enjoyed that one. But Figueroa got the job done with a body punch in the 7th round against Neary, and that's probably his best performance, because Neary's actually made a bit of a comeback. He's sort of got serious and become more disciplined, and I think that victory, although it was very good at the time, I mean, Neary came in, he was undefeated in 31 fights. Nevertheless, it's even better now when you consider that Neary has, scored some good wins since then, seems to have turned his career around and is about to fight Inoue. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Inoue, when he decides to jump to featherweight, could face the winner of this fight, Figueroa and Magdaleno. Who do I think will win this fight? I think it's going to be entertaining. I think probably, Figueroa, I would say, was he's probably more, not only is he a bit more talented, I think he's probably fresher as well. Don't forget, Magdaleno, his first defeat was to an undefeated Isaac Dogboe. And that was back in 2018. And since then, I mean, he's picked up wins over people like Rico Ramos, who was shop worn, and some other guys who are probably C-plus fighters. But apart from fighting Ray Ford and losing a pretty wide decision, he hasn't really beaten anyone since 2018 of any real note. Whereas Figueroa, the Magsayo win was very good, I thought. He knocked out Neary, and even the Stephen Fulton defeat was, it was competitive, relatively competitive. Who do I see winning this fight? I think Figueroa will win using a mixture of skill. I think he's probably got higher ring IQ than Magdaleno. I think we'll see what you might call box fighting from Figueroa. Probably control a smaller man with the jab, but then hang everything off the jab. A lot of right crosses, hooks thrown in. I think Magdaleno will, if the past is anything to go by, will probably headhunt a lot. Whereas when you consider that Figueroa is about 4 or 5 inches taller, he should really be banging that body. He may do it. I don't know. Maybe. But I definitely see Figueroa being the more talented, more tools in the box, better imagination, all those things I usually say in previews, just a better fighter. And I see him pretty much containing Magdaleno's aggression, outboxing him, possibly outfighting him, and then a stoppage, late stoppage, 11th round maybe. If not a late stoppage, then certainly a points win for Brandon Figueroa. And again, I think Figueroa is probably that B-plus level, whereas Magdaleno B. And also I think Magdaleno he's probably past his best now. And I haven't really been impressed, to be honest, with him since that Dogboe defeat. I think before that he was being hailed as a potential superstar, or certainly a big star, but he was rather exposed by Dogboe, and he hasn't really done anything since. Whereas I think Figueroa has shown something, even in that defeat against Fulton, he showed some good work, and I was very impressed with the Lewis Neary win. And the Magsayo win wasn't bad either, although you could say Magsayo. I mean, Magsayo only had one defeat. He had 24 wins and one defeat, I think, coming in. He's a good fighter. So ignoring the interim title, which I think is a load of rubbish, I think this is a fight where we could see some decent action here. Magdaleno come forward, lots of punches, might work the body if he's got any common sense. But Figueroa, I think, outboxes him, contains the aggression, and box fights his way to either a late stoppage, 10, 11, 12 last quarter of the fight, or like a 116, 112, 117, 111 decision, I think. So those are my thoughts. What do you think of this fight? Do you think it's any good? You looking forward to it? I would say it might be a sleeper. It might be one of those ones that not one that puts you to sleep, but a good fight that's kind of creeping under the radar. Do you know what I mean? But let me know your opinion. Comments below as always. Please subscribe to the channel. And hit the like button. Help out the channel. Go on, it makes sense. You want to do it. Well, takes a second, costs you nothing. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time as always. Looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.